Okay. I'm so ready.
You ready? Okay. Hello everybody, I'm here with
Ken.
and today I'll be doing a sit-down interview with him on why he does parkour. So Ken, would you care to give us a quick introduction on who you are?
My name is Ken. I've been doing parkour for about maybe almost 12 years now.
So we'll start with a lighter question. If I gave you, let's say, if I gave you an Oreo and you had to describe it like it was the first time you've ever tasted an Oreo, what would you say about it?
It would be sweet, and I like Oreos quite a lot. So if I were to eat an Oreo for the first time, well, I would say it's dry. Because Oreos are generally kind of dry, so if you don't have a drink with it, it's not as good as if you had a drink with it.
Alright, now we'll get into the actual questions. So again, how long have you been doing parkour or like any form of tricking or stunts?
12 years, let's say.
Next question, where were your occasional spots for training?
When I started off, my first 4 years maybe was in my neighborhood. So the neighborhood I lived in, I thought it was a shit area and there was nothing to train. So I hung around playgrounds and stuff because that's what they had. But then I realized, the better you get, the more spots are available to you. And my area has really good spots actually. I just was shit at the time. So initially, my first 4 years around my neighborhood, I went to uni and there were a lot of spots around the university area. And then recently, the past few years, KL City is unexplored. So KL City.
Because after the first 4 years in your neighborhood, you did go to uni overseas, right?
Yeah.
So you were in the UK, right? So what was your experience like training in the UK as opposed to training in Malaysia?
It's nicer, I'll say. The weather is much better. Colder, you don't sweat so much, you can train for longer. And there are a lot more people training there. And the spots are a lot bigger. So I like it. I like the people, I like the spots. Yeah.
Okay. So, next question. Generally, would you train alone or would you decide to train with friends?
Friends.
So you would always make it a point to say like, oh, hey, you want to go do some training? Stuff like that, as opposed to like, oh, I'm going to go out and do some training today.
Yeah, so back in the day, I saw training as a discipline kind of thing, kind of like working out. And because I saw it that way, even when I didn't want to train, I would want to train. As in, I would make myself train. And oftentimes, most of the times, my friends wouldn't be training that often as I would. So I spend maybe 50% of my time training by myself, 50% with friends, even though I prefer with friends. But it's, there are benefits to both sides. So which one I prefer? I prefer with friends. But when you train by yourself, you can work on your skills and you can improve a lot by yourself. So both are good. I prefer with friends.
I see, okay. So, next question. What initially attracted you to this sport?
So, nothing in particular. When I watched parkour for the first time, it was more like, this is something cool, as opposed to this is something I want to do. And I don't know, somehow, because at the time I was doing calisthenics, so I was at the park anyway, and I think I watched the parkour video and I was like, I'll try that, like a safety vault. So I just did a little safety vault, and I think as that got easy, I was like, what's the next thing? So there was no real reason I wanted to do it initially. And then as I got into it, I just got into it. So, and I think I guess the people doing parkour at the time were cool, they looked cool, so I stuck to it.
So there was no real sort of initial attraction to the sport. You kind of just saw it and you were like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then eventually it became like, hey, I'll try a few moves. And then slowly that helped your progression towards liking the sport more and more.
The idea is like,
right?
it's kind of like you watch skydiving and you think, I'm never going to do skydiving. It's crazy. But because parkour, you can incrementally increase things, I tried a bit and then I tried a bit and then I got into it.
I see. Okay, that's a really interesting progression. Did you encounter any sort of challenges, any hardships or any difficulties learning new moves or tricks?
Yeah, I think, well, relatively speaking now, I don't think I'm unathletic, but at the time I thought I was, because some things came very naturally to some people. I had a friend who learned a backflip in one day and he had no flipping experience. I took about 6 months for my first backflip. So yeah, like initially I thought it was quite hard, but yeah, what's the question again?
Did you encounter any difficulties or challenges learning new moves or tricks?
Yes, I would say so.
What would you say that in your initial years, let's say the first 4 years, in those first 4 years, what was the hardest move that you eventually learned to do?
First 4 years, hardest. Front flip.
Front flip?
Front flip. So the first 3 flips you learn is front flip, back flip, side flip. There was this parkour guy, Willis, who was really good at side flips at the time, and I loved his style. So I practiced side flips a lot, even though side flips are harder than front flips. So I practiced side flips a lot more. Back flips were always kind of easy. Front flips I never understood properly, so that was probably the hardest one. For the first 4 years, I didn't really get it. So I say front flip.
So front flip was the hardest thing initially learning in those 4 years.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's totally understandable. Okay, so why do you do parkour?
Yeah, so there are 2 parts to the answer. When I first started, it was unique. If you did parkour, you were different from everyone, and so you were pretty cool. You could do flips, you could hypothetically jump off things that are quite high, like relatively high, and so you stood out. And on top of that, because I started training early relative to a lot of people, I was better than the average person, and so that made me feel special in a way. So for the first half of my training life, I would say I did it because it made me feel special, it made me feel different, maybe partly an ego thing. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, of course. What I really loved about it just on that side is the friends, the connections you make right away, because it's such a niche sport.
Yeah.
When you meet someone who does it, you can become friends as if you've always been friends.
Yeah.
There was once I was in London, I met with some guys. I met them on that day itself. In the evening, it felt like I knew them for my whole life. So that was an aspect I really loved about it. So there are 2 parts to that first part of the story. There is, it gave me sort of a family with people I didn't know. Yeah, that was a really, really fun part. And another part of it made me feel special, I guess. But now I would say, the past few years, it gives me a chance to play. Because as you get older, you lose that. And with all your friends working and being serious about life, play is very important. So it gives me the chance to play, and that in itself is worth a lot. Yeah, I'll say that.
So like as you grow older, obviously you get more busy. So this is sort of like you still choose to do this because it helps serves as an outlet for you to sort of still be able to have fun.
Yeah.
You know, even with like everything going on in your life.
Not be serious. You know, like parkour used to be something very serious for me. Like, I want to hit this jump, I want to do this flip. Now it's a play thing, and for me that's a lot more valuable than whatever it is.
Yeah, just having fun with the sport, essentially.
It's having fun with your sport is worth a lot more than people give it credit for. And also hanging out with your friends. Gives you a chance to be stupid with your friends. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so final question. What is your dream trick or your dream move?
It's similar. A double full twist off like a height. Let's say waist height or higher, double full. Or punch 1.5 twist. I would say that.
Okay. So thank you, Ken, for taking the time to sit down with me. I really appreciate your input.
Thanks
All right.
for having me.
Yeah. So thank you everyone for watching, and I will see you again next week. Okay. Bye-bye.